let's move on to our next postmortem. It is the Baylor Bears. Let's issue something that we're not going to talk about the off-field issues. We have talked those to death. You all know about them. They are obviously a big player in the background of what happened to the 2016 Baylor Bears, but it's just simply not worth getting into. We want to study what happened in between the sidelines.
Take us 3 times as long.
So that's what we're going to do. So the Baylor Bears go 7-6. They win their bowl game, but it was a very bizarre year in that they start 6-0, then lose 6 straight, and then win their bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
So who in the heck knows? So let's talk about what went right. For a team that lost their offensive guru at the top, the offense was really good.
Yeah.
5th in the nation in total offense. And really, they were pretty good all around. Now, I would say they didn't run the ball as well as they tended to.
Yeah.
But overall, they were pretty good offensively. Across the board, the problem was they weren't able to necessarily. They would put up gaudy yardage numbers, couldn't necessarily turn those into points because of one thing they did do. Although they did average. Here's a weird thing is that they were very committed to the run.
Mm-hmm.
7th in the nation in rush yards or rushing attempts per game, 48 rushing attempts per game. Now, part of that is that they ran a lot of plays because they were also 22nd in the nation in passing attempts per play, per game. But overall, they were pretty decent offensively. Now I would say that the passing game took a step back, especially when they lost their quarterback Seth Russell. But overall, I don't think you can point a whole lot of you can really point blame at the offense, with the exception of one thing we'll get into in just a moment. The other thing, and then from a defensive perspective, look, it wasn't great, but it was okay. It was adequate. You should have been able to win with this. So what went wrong? Well, first of all, we can talk about the mental thing, which is that they lost their first game, and then it just spiraled out of control. Losing Seth Russell was obviously big.
Yep.
But the biggest thing was that their defense, things tended to snowball for them.
Yeah.
That if they got behind, that teams were able to find one or two things that would work, and Baylor simply did not have a response. Right. And so we were talking about TCU and how running the ball was their big bugaboo. Yeah. It was kind of the same way with Baylor, except we talk about defensively.
Right.
So, for example, from a defensive perspective, on the ground, in their wins, they stopped the run. 3.3 yards per carry offensively. You can live with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 3 yards per carry, on average, great.
For sure.
In their 7 wins, so sad. In their losses, 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't win with that. And teams would pound away at it.
The other difference there, too, is we're talking about basically 2 schedules, right?
Mm-hmm.
That first part of the schedule, a little bit easier to stop the run, I'm guessing. That second part, definitely
And that's
not.
another thing. That's why it's kind of hard to judge Baylor based on like overall statistics. You have to kind of dig deeper because overall, look, here's who they beat in the beginning. They beat Northwestern State. Okay.
Yep.
They beat SMU, a team they should beat. They beat Rice, who was bad. They did beat Oklahoma State, and I feel like that goes overlooked. Is that they were one of 2 teams in the Big 12 to beat Oklahoma State this year.
It seemed really promising at the time. Yeah,
they beat Iowa State by 3 in Ames, and that probably should have been a harbinger of things to come.
Game they were losing most of. Yeah,
and then they come home and they drub Kansas.
Yeah, great,
fine, that's fine. But then you lose at Texas.
Yep,
probably a game you shouldn't have lost.
Yeah,
you lose to TCU. In fact, you get throttled by TCU. In Waco, that was the real uh-oh moment. Yeah. Was when they lost by 40 at home
to a team they do not like,
to a team they don't like, a team they should be able to get up for, and a team that they, quite frankly, shouldn't have lost by 42. Right. I can understand losing, but not necessarily by 40. And then it snowballed. Oklahoma, Kansas State, Texas Tech, West Virginia. Now they gave West Virginia some run there at the end. But overall, things spiraled out of control. And really the biggest thing for me and the biggest difference between the Baylor teams that were winning 9-10 games
Yeah.
and this year's Baylor team is that they simply did not take care of the football. Okay? They gave the ball away more than twice a game. That's 118th in the nation. And when you are, and I understand that they have a lot more possessions, but when you're giving the ball back to the other team, you're putting your defense, which was fine but not very good against, not the kind of thing that can win the game for you.
Right.
You're putting them back on the field, and they simply were not very good at doing it. And the other thing, we talked about the disparity between the total offense and the scoring offense for Baylor.
Yes.
They were miserable in the red zone. Miserable. 124th in the nation.
What?
In the red zone. 124th in the nation.
124th.
Terrible. They're horrifying. They're horrifying, which you never think about. You don't think about that for Baylor. You think about,
they score.
They score.
They know how to score.
But the bottom line is that the offense, from a yardage perspective, continued to do its job. Maybe a little half step back, but continued to do its job, but they did not cash in.
Do you have a theory on that? Like, what is it about that unit that just couldn't...
I don't know. I mean, maybe,
I feel like I need to call one of my Baylor friends now and figure out, anecdotally
that is the most bizarre thing when I was going through this.
Huh.
Look, the defense wasn't good, but the defense was never going to be good. It's, 96 in the nation in total defense. But the bottom line is that they did not cash in enough. And if they cash in, if they are just average in red zone, we may be talking about an 8-win team. Because they did, you look at some of the games they lost, they were very, very close. So team MVP for 2016, I think it has to be KD Cannon. There's a reason he's going off to the NFL, and that's because he has nothing left to prove at the collegiate level. This kid was amazing, and he was the deep threat. If you want to get kind of deeper in the numbers, look, Kyle Fuller was their most consistent offensive lineman, and I think that he was really, he's a guy that I hope Baylor fans appreciate now that he's going off the NFL because he was really, really good for them for a number of years.
They're going to miss him now.
So you look forward to 2017, and all eyes are going to be on the quarterback. I think Zach Smith acquitted himself pretty well, but you never know.
Look, they brought in a grad transfer with a pretty solid record in Anu Solomon. You would think that's a 1-2 battle, and who knows, maybe Charlie Brewer can give him a run.
Exactly right. The quarterback battle is going to be wide open. We also don't know with a new coach in Matt Rule what the offense is going to look like.
Right.
Is he going to go now? Because Matt Rule ran a pro-style attack at Temple, but he's brought in two guys from Oregon to run his offense.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. But look, they're bringing back. They're losing their star center in Kyle Fuller, but they're bringing back the other four linemen. They bring back guys like Terrence Williams and JaMychal Hasty at the running back position. The defense is going to need to replace some guys, especially the linebacker spot. They're losing 2 of their 3 linebackers. They're also losing they're losing probably their number one corner in Ryan Reed, and they're losing probably their number one safety in Orion Stewart. So, looking ahead to 2017, Baylor's a bit of a mystery. A lot will be solved in spring camp, but we just it's the kind of thing that we got to kind of see what this team actually looks like.
Yeah.
Like on the field, and do the losses of the 2016 recruiting class start cropping up?
I'm really curious. I don't know about you. I'm really, really, really anxious to see what their 2 deep looks like whenever the first one comes out. When we start putting it together for the magazine, what that 2 deep might look like. I think we're going to get a sense of what we're really looking at when that happens.
I think that's exactly right. This is really wait and see because there is so much change. Like Tom Herman coming in at Texas, we kind of know what to expect.
Right.
Matt Rule at Baylor, we really don't.
Yeah.
So